Wow, this feels a little surreal. I'm sitting in a very nice studio in the Sunshine Coast with a podcast mic, with lighting, with some headphones on, and I'm here.
You're listening to Co-Talks, conversations for the considered. A slower conversation with founders, creators, and people building life and business with more intention for people and planet. I'm Becca Bolton. Grab a chai, coffee, matcha, or wine. Let's yarn.
So, welcome to Co-Talks, Considered Talks. It's all about community, it's all about creativity and collaboration, which is my absolute favorite. So, I'm Becca, and I'm grateful for you to be joining my very first episode here. And I'm excited for the pipeline of series that we have coming up. So stay tuned. But today we are going to deep dive into why I founded Considered. We are more than just a creative studio, so buckle up. Welcome on board. This is Co-Talks. Considered was an idea that I came up with when I was driving on a highway, coming back from a road trip after being present in nature, disconnected from technology, and there you go. Once I took a moment to pause and I freed the mind and I was in nature, I came up with my business ideas. I founded Considered about, maybe 4 years ago. And it was something that I was building up in the background. I knew after university that I needed to see what agency life was like. Unfortunately, see what the 9 to 5 was like. But I just knew that it wasn't for me. So my goal was to be very determined to learn what an agency does, what the pace is there, and what are the do's and don'ts. What can I take on in my own business to improve other systems and design, and what to avoid, what culture that I want to create from experiencing one that wasn't working. So backstory is I went to the University of New South Wales and I did a Bachelor of Design, specializing in spatial and graphics. I'm also doing a photography diploma as well. But in one of my classes, I met a wonderful woman called Rachel, and we were in spatial design together, and I saw her sitting at the front of the classroom, and I was like, you know what? This girl seems like she cares about what she does. I was like, she's going to be my friend. So I sat next to Rachel, and there you go. We were both super passionate about what we do, super excited about learning something new in the design industry. And also the cherry on top, we had an unwavering desire to design for good and have a very ethical, sustainable approach to how we thought and how we wanted to create. So Rachel and I did many projects together at university, and something clicked. It was like magic. And I'm so glad that I pulled up that chair, because if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't be here today. So Rachel and I did lots of university assessments, and basically we were getting high distinctions for everything. We got international scholarships at the same time. We both got deans listed at the same time. And the way that our brains worked, it was just so special. We had the same vision, the same values, the same goals, but Rach has this amazing analytical brain for strategy, being able to oversee everything, but also with a dash of creativity in there. And then for me, vision, creativity, all of that. And so when we worked together, it was like combining two brains of different aspects, but also the same ones, to birth these amazing projects that were just never challenged between us, but just completely in alignment. And I said to Rachel when I finished my degree, because she went on and did a dual degree with marketing, I said to her, I was like, Rach, I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that I want to run a business with you one day. Would you be interested? And she said, yes. I was like, okay. Stay tuned. So here I was driving on the highway, and I came up with this idea. I was so frustrated because university, it kind of funnels you, especially in the design and creative industry, to be like, no, you've got to do one discipline. I was like, what do you mean though? I love art. I love creating. I love ceramics. I love jewelry. I love graphics. I love spatial design. And I just couldn't fathom funneling myself into one thing for my life. Like, we've only got one life, and I was frustrated by it. And so I was like, why can't I do all of it? Which is why I founded Considered, which is more than just a creative studio. And yeah, here we are 4 years down the line, and we're an operating functional business that is making some waves. And we might be small, but gosh, we are mighty. And so I have to say though, I needed to work in an agency to understand A, what the problem is, and B, what is the solution of creating a new creative studio, not an agency. I'm very strict on this not being an agency because I want to be everything but that. I want to be driven by morals, by a moral compass, a North Star, something that is ethical and considered, that designs for good. And that's why we called it Considered, because that's what we want to be about. And no matter what we do, there is a considered approach. It's fully circular thinking. It's putting people and the planet at the forefront straight away. And working in an agency, it killed me. It did. The artificial lighting, sitting in a 4-5 in a chair under fluorescent lighting, I couldn't do it. I was constantly moving around in my chair. I was like, can I please get an ADHD chair, someone? I was singing and it just felt, as a creative, so numbing. How are you supposed to create in almost a clinical environment where people are talking about very superficial things like salmon semen facials and what their next Gucci handbag is? I was like, we're creating and operating an agency here to basically support capitalism, mass consumption, and designing things that are out in the world to influence people to support the problem. And I just felt that I couldn't do that. I have this responsibility as an individual and as a creative to produce something. And if I'm producing something, I'm doing it for good. And it just crushed my soul. It did. I felt numb. I was so unhappy. Just something wasn't right. And I always knew that I wanted to have my own business, but that just proved to me why I needed to do Considered. So I learned what I could. I also faced a lot of challenges. You know, I was this midweight designer that came in and I would work a 4-day week. And to be honest, it was none of anyone's business as to why it was 4 days a week. But to be completely transparent, I experienced a chronic illness and have for 12 years with TMJ, timibular masseter joint dysfunction. And it can be pretty crippling. Constant fatigue, chronic fatigue. I couldn't tell you the last time I woke up feeling fresh. Thousands and thousands of dollars trying to find a solution. And, you know, they say to you, do yoga, see a psychologist, do Pilates for strengthening, do your jaw exercises. Eat healthily, do dry needling, get massage done, go to an osteo, wash your bedding every week in hot water and have an air purifier, have dust mite repellent bed sheet covers, X, Y, Z. And I couldn't do that in a 9 to 5, 5 days a week, especially with struggling with TMJ and chronic fatigue. It was just impossible. And when I did things towards Considered with this goal, it didn't feel like work for me. And I managed to create this energy inside me to be able to do it. And it was hard, you know, it was super hard. But saying that, I got challenged working in an agency where I was informed that there was no such thing as hierarchy in the workplace, because that was something that I strongly believed in. I was like, everyone can have a good idea. It doesn't matter if you're a junior, you're an intern, if you're a senior level, if you own the business, everyone has an idea and more the merrier. And so when I worked there, I thought that's what it was going to be. But it was very apparent that I was a midweight and that me working 4 days a week was a problem, and people had to be nosy. People had to make formal complaints about it. And I'm like, well, that was a part of my employment. It was a part of my hire. Anyway, that also put fuel to the fire as to why I wanted to create Considered and to create a community that helps supports people's lives. And it's hard to find in the industry. You know, people can label it in all these salary packages where you get birthday leave and X, Y, and Z. But I was like, this system does not seem normal and it does not seem to sync up nicely with creativity. Anyway, that's my tangent about agency life and that hustle. And just the fire that was inside me that I could not ignore. And so, yeah, I stuck it out. I stuck it out for literally as long as I could. And then it got to a point where I was like, I can't juggle this plus manage my health anymore. And that's when I learned that you have to trust the path that you are being called to. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot of love. It takes a lot of belief and a lot of faith. I still have a lot of anxiety, but for someone that was riddled with anxiety, who's now learned how to manage that a lot better, I was trying to control all of my environments. I was trying to control all of my time, plan everything out meticulously to the point of planning out my retirement. Sounds pretty nice, though. It's a great plan. I'm going to have a vineyard, so stay tuned. But being able to be at that tipping point of I can't handle agency life, I can't handle managing my health and trying to start up a business, something's got to give. And it did. And I decided to fully, wholeheartedly go in unconsidered. I was like, do you want this to be a hustle or do you want this to be your life? And I wrote down lists of, what I wanted my life to be. I wanted to be digital so I could travel the world because I love traveling. I love experiencing cultures and connecting with other people. I wanted to be able to take that laptop with me, be able to go anywhere and just experience and let work fit into my life, not my life fitting into work. And so that was one of the foundational principles of why I wanted to create Considered. And not only just for myself, but for Rachel, for any employee or contractor to be able to work remotely. And I'm grateful for COVID. Look, it was a terrible time. And I think, it's super sad for like the lives that we lost and how that impacted a lot of businesses and a lot of people's lives in a negative way. But there's always a silver lining. And I think being able to work remotely and being digital was such a blessing. And people feel better for it. I mean, you think about it now, everyone's trying to encourage everyone to go back into the office. And some people love it, which is amazing. And I think it's great to be able to bounce off one another in an environment. But there's something about the essence of your life and letting your life be what it is, what it's meant to be, and have work within that, not overpowering that. And yeah, that's one of the main principles why I wanted Considered to be this studio that supported not only my life, but a life for this culture that I could bring in, removing this hustle, understanding that people have children, women have menstrual cycles, people have family complications, people have disabilities or chronic illnesses that they don't talk about. And it's about creating a conducive environment for that, not only for the client work that we do with creating brands and designing for good, but also from an internal point of to introduce that 4-day work week, to have menstrual leave, to be able to take initiative and not have to ask for permission like a child at school, to be like, do you mind if I go to the doctors because I'm not well, and then have to provide a medical certificate? I'm like, I'm sorry, but also with the economy that we're in, some people try and avoid the doctors because it's so expensive, or tries to avoid a psychologist appointment. But maybe if they can't do that, they just need a moment to themselves to take a moment away from that 9 to 5. So it was about eliminating these principles that people don't question and being able to support a new way of living and working. So that was one of the reasons why Considered was born, and to design for good, for our people and planet. And I think a lot more people are starting to wake up to it for sure. So yeah, that's why we founded Considered. And it's been a journey. It's definitely hard. It definitely has a lot of challenges in it and a lot of doubt. But being able to let go of the anxiety of trying to control everything was a big lesson that I've learned in this. And to be able to trust your instinct, or if you want to call it your intuition, which I think everyone has intuition. We've just become disconnected from that. We all have a journey and a path that we're supposed to embrace, and it's all unique to each person, right? But being able to pay attention to these ideas that come up for you in moments where you're connected to yourself, you're grounded, you're not hustling in this crazy corporate clinical environment. And it literally links back to when I came up with the concept of Considered, coming into nature and connecting with yourself. And I think people will start to realize more what you're meant to do and how you're meant to live your life. And this sounds very cheesy, but you do only live once. So why are you living a life that you're not necessarily happy with, or why you're not creating something or being in an environment that benefits your life and the others around you? It's crazy that people aren't waking up to that, but this is my small rebellion a bit against it. And look, we might be small right now, but gosh, we're mighty and we're keen to make impact. We've been able to work with some amazing clients like MCI Carbon, that's literally transforming the planet for better. And I think it's people like this that you get to connect with, that you realize that there is a greater good, or there's a greater reason to why all of this exists. And we need to remind ourselves to live life and have some fun. And for me, fun is obviously traveling and creating at the same time. So being able to do Considered is such a blessing. But it's hard work to get to that point, and it can be very alienating. But I think creating something for your life that supports your life is a beautiful thing that you can do, and it's a big act of self-love. So Yeah. So at Considered, we are a creative studio and we're designing brands and doing lots of digital marketing. But we have a very big philosophy of the brands that we create us, which is something that I came up with when I founded the business. And it's true though, the brands that we are creating, they are going out into the world, and that's also what's creating us because we are a part of that world. And so it's coming back to the heart of the community and not just having these clients, so to speak, but more as partners and being an extension of a community and of a team and a collective good and a collective goal. And so, yeah, we get to work on some pretty fun projects and meet some incredible people doing amazing things. And that is also why I wanted to be able to showcase the brands that we work with, because a lot of them do have a retail product, something that they have done extensive R&D on. They have put so many hours into this, to going into an unconventional path and trying to do something good. And we wanted to give them a platform for this. So this year we founded How Good, which is an e-commerce platform, which I like to call an impact store. So the idea behind it is you shop and we donate. And we've partnered with some amazing nonprofit organizations here in Australia. The first one we partnered with was the Australian Marine Conservation Society, and they're incredible. If you haven't heard of them, please check them out. And we're developing some amazing products with repurposing a waste material into a retail product. Other nonprofits that we have been working with is Oz Harvest. They're fighting food hunger and food waste, food insecurity in Australia. And the impact they're making is so inspiring, and it is changing Australia for better. So if you haven't heard of them, please check them out as well. So the idea behind How Good is you shop, we donate, mate. And yeah, we're all about being this like Aussie cheeky brand that's a little bit unconventional, a little bit rebellious, doing things a little bit differently, but doing it in a smart way, because I believe that taking an unconventional path is how you make change. Why would we stick in the same field, that same sea of sameness that everyone else is doing? Is that making a change? Is that benefiting our world? Is that making people happier? I don't think so. And so, yeah, doing things a little bit differently with How Good. The brands that we create us. So we give the brands we work with a platform on our store to advocate their products, to get more exposure. It's about taking a considered approach, taking the time with something, considering the materials you're using, understanding who is behind that piece, what that story is, and communicating it. And I think with AI rising, that's sort of the rebellion against it. And I think it's an important fight to fight. And so, yeah, that's one aspect of our store. The second aspect is the products that we are developing. So stay tuned, because I have been working my butt off for a couple of projects. And again, it doesn't feel like work because I love what I do. And I know that it's going to help people and planet. And that's my responsibility, like a creative humanitarian. And so, yeah, if you haven't checked out our store, How Good, please do. Because every product that is purchased, 10% of proceeds will go to our selected partners. So either the Australian Marine Conservation Society, the Dimaroo Rangers in the Northern Territory and Arnhem Land. They're doing some incredible work protecting our oceans, especially from lots of plastic debris. And then Oz Harvest. So that's a little bit about Considered and a little bit about How Good. I am so excited to introduce you to some amazing founders that I have met along the way that are taking an unconventional path, and they're more than a creative studio. They're more than just profit. They are considering everything to better the world and people's lives. So thank you so much for listening to today's first episode of why Considered exists and how we're more than just a creative studio. It's super exciting with what we've got in the pipeline, and it just feels so special to share this story with you. I feel it's been behind the scenes for quite a while, and now it's time to speak about it because I'm ready to make some impact. I'm ready to help Australia, to help our Earth, to help people and our planet for good through our studio. So thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to welcome you into Co-Talks and into our Considered family. And I will look forward to seeing you in the very next episode.